What's up, everyone? This is the Next Tape Podcast, episode 53 with Mikel and
Tanyka.
where we have conversations on different topics. So we have a special theme episode for this Halloween month. We don't do a lot of movie reviews. I don't know if this is a movie
We're not
review.
really calling this a movie review. It's not just a movie review.
Yeah.
We're actually
yeah.
gonna go through the movie, but which would be a recap, which I did mention in the previous episode.
Right.
So that's what we're doing is recap. But we can kind of do reviews because a lot of these movies you have. So we're gonna
Okay. So
yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, well, I'll say the movie title.
Okay.
So the movie title is Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, Tim Burton
That's
version.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the series, which Mikel did get confused with, which is a good series. I've watched the series as well when it was on. Series is good as well. And there's similarities, obviously, because
right.
The story of Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman is not just with this particular movie. It's an older story nonetheless.
Right.
But this is a movie that I've been watching since I was a kid. So you've never seen the movie before?
Yeah, I never seen the movie at all.
Okay.
I seen pictures, clips of what's his name? Spoiler alert, towards the end of the what's his name?
Oh, you're talking Christopher Walken. The guy who plays the Headless.
I see. Yeah. I seen his character pasted all over photos and everything on the internet. So yeah.
Overall for you. Well, I already know because he already told me. What did you think about the movie? Just overall.
I seen horror video games. I seen horror movies before. This is all right. I mean, this is 90s we're talking about, which is,
it's very different.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, watching it, it's been a bit since I've watched the movie myself. It's probably been a few years, but it is the 90s. There's that. With Tim Burton, he doesn't go overly crazy with some of his stuff. His movies are very dark in the way that they are presented. In terms of if you could tell the picture, watching the movie, it's very it feels like it's black and white, but it's not at some points.
Yeah.
So that's very Tim Burton, but it's not it's not one of those movies that are meant to be this huge horror type movie. It's more of maybe more of a thriller.
Yeah, I was listening towards because it has that
it has that element.
Detective element to
Yeah. No, it's definitely more of a thriller than a horror. I would never classify this as a horror movie, but because it's you would consider this a horror movie?
Yeah, a little bit of both. It's horror, horror and thriller in one. Yeah, I would say so because it has both elements into it, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's certain points of it that it's it's gross.
Scare you.
We'll get to it. Well, yeah, maybe for me it's because I've seen the movie so much that it's not scary. There's certain points of it that I'm like Christopher Walken when he gets his head back, I'm like, ooh, it's the teeth for me when he. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched the movie, when he kisses her at the end, it always makes my stomach turn. So there's certain points that. But it's maybe it's just because I'm immune to it at this point because I've seen it so much. Go ahead.
Would you say it's dark? Would you say it's dark fantasy, or is it just?
I don't know if I'd consider it fantasy at all. I wouldn't consider it a fantasy at all. But dark, yes, definitely dark and the killings. You don't see all of the killings, which we'll get to. But
Right.
that one though, when he slit the guy in half, it's pretty freaking gnarly. And I think like with movies like this, maybe this maybe we should, it's not just me, actually. I'm not gonna say it's just me. I'm not in a group on my own here. When you want to see movies like this, you want to see the killings. Some of them I don't,
Mm,
I prefer not to. Like when he kills the
right.
family, I don't want to see that. When he kills the kid, but it's you want to see the killing. So at least you get a little bit of that
Mm,
in this movie,
mhm,
but it's yeah, it's one of those ones that I think is just it's my childhood, so like I'm going to protect it by all means.
right.
I think that's
Right.
where I come
So
from.
so I have issues with the film as well. So
Okay.
like when the horseland, sorry, not a horse, when the
Horse.
headless horseman chops,
Hmm.
yeah, chops the head,
Hmm.
there's no blood coming out. But when it comes to like, the spoiler alert,
Uh-huh.
when it comes to like, the tree, when he opens up
Yeah.
the tree and everything, there's blood
Yeah.
coming out of there. And but
Yeah.
when he kisses the girl at the end,
Hmm.
just blood coming out of her mouth. So that's kind of like,
I don't know
what?
if it's due to
What?
the rating.
Why?
I do wonder if it's due to
Oh,
the
okay.
rating because that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because it's the act of actually killing somebody that they have to keep that within the rating. But when you're like kissing somebody and it's due because your teeth are sharp or whatever, that maybe it's just like you don't really you don't really know what's causing it. I mean, it's most
Mm-hmm.
likely because of his teeth, but it's like you don't really know exactly what's causing it. So it can be more implied that it's the teeth because you're not actually like
Mm-hmm.
seeing it. You know what I mean? So because I think
Right.
this is a PG-13 movie, I believe I might be wrong.
Mm.
I think that might be why they still have to play within the rating. So but yeah,
It was,
that's
it was a,
it's true.
it was, there was a bit of blood for a PG-13
Oh yeah, there's
movie.
still going to be
If it,
blood. There's still going to be blood in a PG-13 movie. There's plenty of PG-13 movies that I've definitely seen blood in before, but I think like it's just I think that's why
Mhm.
personally I think that could be why it makes the most sense depending on the. I think it's a PG-13 rated movie. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think that's the
Mm.
rating for the
I'll
movie.
check. See.
Yeah. And then again, like even with the blood too, with the blood that you do see, because that's not even just there's other points where we see blood too, but like the blood, I forgot how fake the
Hmm.
blood looks. It's like
I
the
mean,
blood
I
looks
mean,
like blood that he did like in Sweeney Todd as well. So I think Tim Burton was a part of the Sweeney Todd movie as well. And I
the-
remember watching Sweeney Todd and the blood was just so
Mhm.
like ketchupy. So it was
Right.
also that too. But anyway,
Like, like, like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead. Now, I've seen this series. I try to watch a series of Walking Dead. Oh my God, the first
I
season,
never got
it look,
into
it
it.
look, it looked like ketchup-y type
Yeah.
of blood. In
And
my
that's
opinion,
what
I
I
never
don't
got into it.
like.
That's what's one.
I don't like
Yeah.
that. Like, I mean, what we'll see with what next week when we touch on the Fear Street trilogy, I
Mhm.
think why I love those movies so much is because it is
Mhm.
so real. Like when that movie came out and there was a podcast that I listened to that covered it. And the one of the hosts, she was a coroner. And she was like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah, that's accurate. Like these different things, she's like, that is accurate. That's what you would expect when this happens or whatever. So
Mhm.
it's actually very real. So when you watch movies like Sleepy Hollow or Sweeney Todd or stuff like that, where it's just like the blood is
Mhm.
so fake, it drives me
Right.
nuts. But anyway,
Mhm.
I still love the movie.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So the film is rated R in USA to
Oh,
be
is it?
fair. Yeah.
So then why
That's
didn't
right.
they? Maybe
I
it
mean,
was
yeah,
because it's
it's
the
probably
90s. I don't know. They did
yeah,
things differently in
90s.
the 90s.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was a lot of blood for, a tiny bit more blood than a PG-13, in my opinion. Because
Yeah.
I watch the Marvel movies. Those are PG-13. They don't like show like PG-4. Sorry, PG-14. Yes, they go
No,
with
it's
the
14A.
blood.
14A.
14, is it 14A? Yeah,
14A,
okay.
yeah.
14A. My bad. They go with the blood is there. Like you can see it
Mm-hmm.
splattering all over your face and
Yeah.
whatever and
Yeah.
etc. But when it comes to PG-13, it's a little tiny blood, and a little, swear word here and there, and that's basically it.
Well, also like the R rating doesn't necessarily, I mean, it gives them obviously the freedom to do certain things, but like the R
Hmm.
rating, it could also just be due to the content, the mature content, the fact that there is killings happening. I mean, you are
Right.
seeing headless corpses and stuff. You're seeing the
Right.
heads at the end there. Even well, so again, spoiler alert, the story with his mom, like, and how that ends too. Like, that's really dark. So yeah, I think like it's also just the content too that kind of makes it R as well. But what did you think about like
Yeah.
some of the characters? Like, I guess we kind of more talk about like the main characters, like Katrina,
I mean,
Crane.
in my the only one was is it Johnny Depp? Johnny Depp's character, right?
Crane, yeah,
My
Ichabod
um,
Crane.
yeah,
Yeah,
him. That was the only. Other characters weren't too memorable to me. Only
I agree. I
the
agree with that.
the headless horseman and
Yeah,
Johnny Depp's character.
yeah.
That
I
was the only
mean,
two memorable characters.
for
I
me,
didn't
I
care too
always
much
remember
about them.
Katrina as well. Christina Ricci
Yeah.
is she, she's always memorable.
Right.
But so she's always memorable to me, but I always forget her name in the movie. And everyone else, it's like you'll see when we kind of go through it. I don't know anybody's
Hmm.
names, and I end up using different names for them because a lot of the characters are actually I've seen in other movies, and you'll kind of realize which movie it is. But maybe I don't know, you might
Yeah.
not, but a lot of them I've seen in Harry Potter. So I literally use their names in Harry Potter because I'm like, I don't remember their
Hmm.
names. So like you'll be like, oh yeah,
Mm,
Dumbledore is here, and then I'll be like Ollivander, and it's
yeah.
like that's kind of what I'm doing because I'm like, I know their names in
Yeah.
Harry Potter, but I don't know their names in this movie.
For me, the movie, if it's just like a one-off movie, I won't remember their characters, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If it's like a franchise or a continuous series, I probably will remember their names.
Well,
But
there's the
otherwise than
one
that, if
guy. There's the one guy in there, which we mentioned actually before with Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, kind of talking about the fact like he's
yeah.
in Beetlejuice.
Okay.
He's most
Yeah.
likely not going to be in Beetlejuice because of the fact that he
Mm.
was Me Too'd and everything. So he's probably not going to be on it, which
Right.
I was right, y'all.
Right.
They kill him off, so he's not going to be on it. And I refer to him as I don't know his name in the movie, but I refer to him as the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off because I remember him there, and that's a one-off movie. So I don't know if it's so much in this movie that it's like
Maybe.
I can't remember everybody's name.
Mhm.
It's just
Mhm.
too much and it's so convoluted. I don't know.
Maybe it's with the writing. The writing's probably the. I'm
Maybe.
not sure. Maybe.
But
Maybe the
even
overall
like
story.
even the bad guy in the movie, or should I say bad girl in the movie, she doesn't actually have a name. They just refer to her as Lady, whatever her last name was. She doesn't actually even, I noticed that on the credits. I'm like, oh, she doesn't even actually have a name. They just refer to her as Lady, whatever. So she doesn't even have a name. It's kind of like the only people who actually have a name are the four main characters, or at least they're the
Yeah.
ones that are memorable. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. Made me
Mm.
think for sure. But I mean, again, still love the movie.
Mhm.
I always will. But yeah, is there anything else you want to say about the movie before we get
I
into
mean,
it?
it's all right. I give it a rating out of 2.5 out of 5.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
that's my rating.
Barely a pass. It's pass. It's barely a pass. For me,
Yeah.
I think like my childhood self would definitely rate this movie a 5 because I love it. But definitely watching it again as an adult, I'm probably gonna have to say it's probably like a 4. So it's still up there, but I have to kind of knock it down. I love the darkness of the movie, so I think that's why I love that darkness. I liked Hello Darkness, my old friend. It's I love that part of it. I love Tim Burton. And there's something else I was gonna say, I can't remember now, but that part of it, like I love that. So always gonna
Like
love it.
so a lot of the characters do have names in the
Oh, I'm sure they
so like
do.
John, it's just like I guessing they weren't like properly introduced
Or it's so
or
quick.
properly
It's so
yeah.
quick. Yeah.
Uh,
And this person's with
yeah.
this person, and this person sleeping with this person. And it's kind of just like, it's so much that, and then also like the people who were killed before he got there. It's like, I'm not gonna remember everybody. Like it's too much. But
Yeah, there's a lot of characters in this one. So
yeah, but that's why I refer to them in the only way that I can, and that is their names in Harry Potter. That's the only way I can do this. There's a couple of other people who are not in Harry Potter that I could still reference in another movie, and I'm like, that's your name, because I cannot remember it otherwise.
mm,
But
yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
so we can kind of
that's it.
like, yeah, we can kind of get into the movie a bit. Like, I won't necessarily do like every little thing, but kind of
Mhm.
talk about like the different parts of the movie. So like the one thing that I kind of loved with this is, I mean, I don't know how accurate this is, but the fact that you have this person who is like, we actually have to examine the bodies, actually do autopsies, which like I guess autopsies were a thing like that wasn't very prevalent at the time. And like the people being like, oh no, like, but that's like what you
Mhm.
do, like whenever there is a crime
Mhm.
or suspicious
Yeah.
death or whatever, this is what they do. They do autopsies. So it was kind of interesting in that sense to kind of like see that. But where he
Mhm.
lives, which was in New York City, I think New York City, but somewhere in New York. Well, Sleepy Hollow is in New York as
That's
well. What?
that's in old New York.
Because we're in the
Is it old New York?
1800s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're in the
Right. Okay.
1800s. So yeah, it would be old New York. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Sleepy Hollow is a real place in New York.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
Sleepy Hollow itself is a real place. I also don't think there's any like headless horsemen or anything like that, but Sleepy Hollow is a real
Yeah.
place.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, but who knows? Maybe there is, but
Mhm.
I hope not.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, so they get frustrated with him, I guess, being this kind of outspoken person to kind of be like, we have to do things correctly, which I mean, I think police officers could learn a thing or two from this movie because sometimes they don't do everything they're supposed to do. And they are like, you want to help some people, go to Sleepy Hollow where there is people being chopped off by the head. You go over there and you deal with it over there. And he's like, oh, okay. So he goes, he does that. And this is where we kind of, when he gets there, we kind of meet all of these different people. And that's where it gets very confusing. We have Dumbledore, we have Uncle Vernon, we have Ferris Bueller's principal, we have all these different people that I'm just like, I don't know your
Yeah.
names. And this is why
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna, yeah. But it's here
So
that they,
I kind of
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
My
no,
bad.
you
My
go
bad.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead so that I can finish.
So I kind of like lost a plot when he was just chopping down their heads. Maybe because like
Oh,
he
really?
was planning for revenge. Yeah, in a way, like I lost it because
Okay.
like yeah, because he was like basically cutting off everybody's heads, and I'm like,
Yeah.
is he plotting for revenge or is it
No, no,
just
no, no. It's explained in the movie, but maybe you missed it. We'll have to kind of get to that part of it though. Like, I don't want to go too far
okay?
ahead, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is explained. It is explained. It's it's revenge, yes, but it's not
Hmm.
necessarily his revenge. But we'll get to it. But
Yeah.
what they explain to Ichabod here is that there's killings happening. 5 people, I think it was 5. It's 5? 4? 5? Whatever, 4 or 5.
5. Yeah, 5.
Was it 5
5. I
at the
think he
time?
said like 4, 5, and then victim, something like that.
I think it was 4. I think the 5th one was killed, or we want to say the 5th one was killed while he was there. But the 4th one was 4 before he got there. But then someone was like, it's actually 5 because someone was pregnant.
Yeah.
But, well, not to go too far ahead. But basically, they say that people are being killed, and they're saying it's the Headless Horseman because the Headless Horseman is clearly out there trying to get his head because someone must have taken his head, and now he's out there trying to find his head. So that's what he's doing. He's chopping off the heads of these victims in order to get like his head. You see, does that make sense? Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but there's a little more to it, but we'll get to it. So obviously Ichabod Crane is like, this is ridiculous. Like, clearly there's an actual alive person who's killing people. It can't be this Headless Horseman who wreaked havoc on Sleepy Hollow 20 years ago or whatever the hell it was and was killed. He was killed, which is explained at some point. He was killed and they chopped his head off, but they buried him. So like, it can't be him, right? Because the rational side of your brain is like, there's just no way. But he's like, I will get on the case and we'll figure this out. And I think it's around this time when he's getting settled is when he meets Katrina, and he's instantly just into this. He's like, yes, I like her, and she seems to like him. But she also seems to have like this thing on the side with this guy who, how do I describe him? Because I don't know his name. Prince Charming. There you go.
Right.
I don't know his name. He's the guy who gets cut up in half in a little bit. But anyways. So yeah, he's kind of
the guy with the gun.
Did he have a gun? I don't remember.
Maybe he had a gun, and then he switched into a
Yes, he had a gun. He had a gun shooting at a headless person. So clearly the gun's not going to work. But anyways, so
technically it did.
It was hitting him. It's hitting him, but it's not killing him because he's already dead.
Oh yeah.
Right? So it's like pointless. There's no point of like using the gun. He's already dead. Right? But so yeah, it was kind of when we're starting. I don't want to go too far ahead because I have my notes here, but I'm trying not to actually like look at my notes too much. I'm just trying to go off memory. But this is kind of when we start to find out like there's clearly this connection with him and this woman that we keep seeing in like his dreams. And he has like that cardinal thing that he keeps like playing with. And it was something that clearly like his mother gave him, and that she would do that. But you're seeing this woman in his dreams, and you're just like, oh no, something doesn't go well here. Because again, we're talking, this would have been, I can't remember exactly what year. Actually, no, I think I have the year. Hold on, this will help me. It's 1799. So 1799. So I don't know how old he is, but we're talking this would have been after like the witch panic and everything like that. And it's witchcraft, bad. And they would, obviously go accordingly. But you're starting to kind of realize, oh, something has happened here. And she's very majestic. And we see her drawing stuff. And you're just like seeing like there's someone watching her. And we don't really know who that person is at first. This person who keeps watching her. But we do later find out it's actually his father. Which is even worse. But anyway. So he kind of goes in and out of these dreams. So I'll complete the dreams later on because I don't want to. We kind of see it grow. The dreams grow upon like each time because it's just like, yeah. But what did you think about the dreams? The dreams are confusing.
Yeah, confusing. It didn't go well with the movie, in my opinion. I don't know. It was just like
I
there'll be
think
one dream and there'll be another dream,
it was
and
kind of the
then
same dream, and it's like it's the dream was being something's being added
flashback.
more and more to the. It's technically they're flashbacks because it was
Mm,
him, the little boy was him, so they're technically flashbacks, and like I don't know if it's something he normally dealt with when he wasn't in Sleepy Hollow, or if it's something that's being dealt with because like it's coming up right now because of Katrina. Katrina seems to be very
right.
much into the witchcraft, and that seems to be kind of
Mm,
acceptable in like with her father and whatnot. So I
mm,
think maybe that may could have been bringing back old memories because obviously we'll just get to it. His mother was tortured and ultimately murdered for witchcraft, even though she probably was not a witch, because none of them ever were. Check back next week. We'll talk about that. But like they never really were witches. So
mm.
his father spying on her, making drawings in the sand, which is who gives a shit really, or whatever else. Like, and the part like where she's floating, do you remember that part where she's floating, which was very confusing? The part that she's floating
Mhm.
and then you don't see her head, you just see her feet and she's just spinning. It reminded me of
Right.
like people being hung because people were hung for witchcraft. Like that's ultimately was not the way she died, but it
Mm,
was like it kind of was that was very symbolic, but it was confusing. But I think like it was because this was being kind of put to him because of Katrina. That's the only thing I can think of why it was included.
mm.
But anyway, we do have a killing. So there was a killing.
Spoiler.
Matt. Well, I mean, come on, really? People are being killed in this movie. Madsbeth, I think is his name. He's the first one that gets killed while Ichabod is there. And he's keeping like watch. And I don't know what keeping watch is going to do because as we can see later on, confronting him does nothing. But he's keeping watch. Something like, was it him that got killed first? Am I remembering that correctly? Or somebody else?
Mm.
I can't remember now, actually. Hold on. I might be remembering this incorrectly. Hold on. Sorry. Give me a second. I'm going to go back a little bit.
I don't,
Hmm?
I don't remember. I don't remember too much. It's a blur.
Yeah, I feel like it
That's
probably
why.
was him and he
Yeah.
ran. I think he ran out into the woods. Which, listen, everybody, please. If something is chasing you, don't run into the woods. Run
Mm.
somewhere else. Now you're dealing with something like this that is not as otherworldly, but in the future, if someone is chasing you, go home, go to shelter. I don't know, something. Just don't run into the woods. Anyways,
So he was. So he was the first one with
I
the
think he
that
was
got killed, right?
the first one that got killed when
And
he got there.
the, and then the bug was
And
basically,
the bug, yeah.
coming out.
The bug was coming out when he was examining the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just so
Yeah.
gross. But
Yeah.
again, like all the other things too that he was doing, like with the steam and all of this, like the chemical reactions and stuff like that. I'm like, science wasn't my strong suit, but I'm just like, what? None of that made sense to me either. But
Mhm.
again, I think he was still kind of figuring it out because I think like I don't know how much science was a part of the late 1700s,
R-
practically 1800s at
Right.
this point. So like I don't know. But
Mm.
it was really funny. But yeah, he like examining the body and in true like Tim Burton fashion, it's like he's being quirky and it was funny. But yeah, he's dead. And with him being dead now, his son is now orphaned. His mom's dead. His dad is dead. It's just him. And he said, let me help you because I have no one
Mhm.
else. And
Mhm.
he kind of says no at first. But when
Mhm.
I can't remember exactly who it was. Maybe Uncle Vernon, I can't remember. But he goes to him and he's like, there was actually 5 bodies or 6 deaths or whatever the hell number that we can't remember. And he's like, what? So turns out that one of the women that was killed was pregnant. And this is important, actually, because all of these are connected. The deaths are connected. Did you understand that too when that did come about? The deaths were connected. Did you understand that?
No.
Okay. I'm not going to remember, but the deaths were connected. Like, she planned the deaths out in such a way because they were all connected. They were like all connected. Yeah, I'm not gonna remember.
You're talking
Sorry.
about the woman, the lady.
Yeah, the lady who did all this. They were all connected. Like she would summon him, and there was like with the family, for example, the family was killed because the woman, she was a midwife, and the woman, because no one knew this person was pregnant, the widow, I think she was a widow, no one knew she was pregnant. And she would have been pregnant like out of wedlock, which is bad. And the midwife told, so she knew that she was pregnant because she was the midwife. And she told that lady that, yeah, she was pregnant. And the reason the husband was killed was because she said it to the husband, said it to her in front of the husband, that this person was pregnant. So of course, both of them had to be killed, and their son, because, well, he's going to be orphaned, right? So it was all connected. I just can't remember why, but they were connected. Maybe if I read my notes, I'll find out why. I just can't remember. But anyway, yeah, so he discovers that she's pregnant, does an autopsy, finds out she's pregnant. And he's still believing, though, like, this is not the Headless, because he hasn't seen the Headless Horseman yet. Is not believing that this is at all a being of a Headless Horseman or whatever. So I guess, like, it's that night, he's kind of, like, on his own, scanning the area, and he thinks he sees the Headless Horseman, but it was actually a prank, which was facilitated by the same guy who gets cut in half later. So he thinks that it's whatever. And it's here that he dreams again of his mom, because he passes out and he dreams of his mom. And we kind of get a little more. This is where we see, like, someone's watching her, which was his father. And he wakes up and he sees Katrina and whatever. And she gives him, which this is important as well, she gives him this book of spells that was actually her mom's. And the reason it's important is because it kind of saves his life later. Did you notice that in the movie at the end, that it saved his life in an unorthodox way, but it did save his life?
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
he didn't use spells, but it saved his life. So yeah, that there's kind of that. And then we see, this is when he gets killed. Yeah, Uncle Vernon, which in real life he really is dead. So let's bow our heads here, but he's about to be killed in this movie as well. And he's walking, and it kind of looks like, I guess, he wants to flee. And I think, if I'm correct, he married the widow for the purposes of her not being pregnant out of wedlock. Like, I don't think he married her to be, like, gross or anything. Like, I think he really was trying to do the right thing by her. And Crane, he sees him, he catches up to him, and he's like, how did you know she was pregnant? Like, how did you know? Because it was him, right? That said, like, how did you know? How did you know she was pregnant? Like, did you do it? Are you the father? And he's like, no, I'm not the father. Do you know who is? He's like, I think he said no. He doesn't know who the father is, or he did know, or whatever. But wow, this was so fucking crazy. While they're talking, you see the thunder and the lightning, and it's getting dark, and it's not great. And you're just like, uh-oh, here comes the Headless Horseman. this time he can't deny that there's a headless horseman, comes and just chops off Uncle Vernon's head, may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
And just takes his head, stabs his head like with food, and his knife and his sword is a fork or something, and just dips.
Yep.
And Johnny Depp is just like, what? And he passes out, which I think if anyone were to see a headless horseman, you too would pass out. You know, even if it is Christopher Walken.
I think he didn't believe at first, but they were just telling him that, you know, there was basically he was I can't remember what I was gonna say now. He was basically I forgot what I was gonna say.
That's okay.
But lost train of thought. But let me come back. Go ahead and say what you have to say.
Okay. So yeah, he's like, he was terrified. He's like, it was the headless horseman, and everyone in the room's like, yeah, we told you that. We told you it was the headless horseman. He's like, no, but really, it was the headless horseman. He's like, yeah, we told you that. Like,
oh right, yeah.
we told you.
He didn't believe.
No, he didn't believe it. I mean, I think that was anybody. I mean, if someone told me that someone was being killed by a headless horseman, I would like, no way. But yeah, he didn't believe it. I think any rational person would not believe it's a dead headless horseman on his dead horse, you know. So it's like no one would think that. By the way, he loves his horse. The headless horseman, he loves his horse. Like, he will die for his horse. He
is called the headless horseman. Yeah.
But he wasn't always a headless horseman. He was an alive horseman at some point, and he still loved his horse then too, right?
Yeah,
because it's still like him. You know what I mean? It's just him dead and headless. But so yeah, he's like, yeah, no, but it was funny. So it was funny. So he's like, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna find out what's going on. We're gonna find the horseman's grave, because that's what's gonna help us understand what's going on here. So we are again in the freaking woods. Why do we have to constantly be in the woods? Because again, which I don't think we explained this, we when we find out about the headless horseman, we are getting a reenactment of kind of what happened, what he was doing, what he was kind of about, and he was kind of the terror. And when they catch him and they do ultimately kill him, if you remember, and again for those who didn't watch the movie, you're going based on what we were saying, there was two little girls that he kind of ran into before he was killed. Two little girls, and they were twins. And he kind of was like, you know, don't say anything. And there's one sister, I don't know which sister it was, but one of the sisters snaps the twig, which alerts the people trying to find him.
Yeah.
And that's very, very important for the story. So
I mean, I feel like a kid would do that, like out of just mistake. Was the kid just being?
Oh no, the kid knew exactly what they were doing. They knew what they were doing.
Brat, or was this?
Oh,
it was just like, I think it could have been I just want to play with them.
No, I think it could have been a mix of they were being a brat and they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. They probably knew who he was. The legend of this person who, like, I don't know what they called him before he was the headless horseman, but they knew about him. He was infamous, I guess is the right term to use in this case, and they knew about him. So I think they did it on purpose. At least that one kid did it on purpose. And we do kind of find out, we get a little more about these two little girls in a little bit, but yeah, that's very important. So yeah, he says, we're gonna go find the grave. Him and young Masbeth, whatever, we're gonna go find the grave. because we need to figure this out. We need to find out if his head's really gone or what the heck. So, you know, Madsmith, while they're kind of going into the woods talking, he's like, do you hear that? And he's like, what? Hear what? He's like, exactly. It's quiet. The birds are not chirping. They're clearly getting close. So all of a sudden they start hearing like humming, a woman's hum, just out of the clear blue sky. And they're like, what the hell? So they walk upon this humming woman, which, again, people, please, I'm going to say this again. Don't walk into people's homes. You don't know who we're getting into. And there are places that have stand your ground laws. Do not walk into people's homes. Anyways,
yeah.
They walk into the person's home, and he's like, pardon the intrusion. We're looking for a grave. And this is clearly a witch. And the witch tells Crane, you stay. Child, leave. You can't be here. You need to leave. Leave. Go away. And she's going to help summon something. I don't know what exactly was happening here, but they're summoning something to try and find the grave, I guess. And she's like cuffing herself against the wall, which in a different movie would be a very different situation. But she's like cuffing herself to the wall, making sure she can't reach him, which didn't help whatsoever in the actual situation. And she's like, I can only hold it for a few minutes, get the answers you need to get, whatever. And you're like, who is this person? Like, who are you? This random woman. And we do find out who she is, but she's this random woman, and she's doing whatever, killing bats like Ozzy Osbourne, and she's doing her own thing, and I guess she must have like fallen asleep or something, and he's like, hello, what's going on here? And then she just kind of comes out of nowhere, and I don't know. I'm curious to know what you thought about this scene. What did you think about this scene when she kind of, with the eyeballs and the stuff? What did you think?
So the eyeballs that, you know,
well, more than just eyeballs, but that's how I'm describing it. Really?
It was eye.
Okay, you're so boring.
I mean, like, it was more exciting seeing towards the end, seeing the headless horseman getting his head back.
I get that.
CG.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that.
Well,
see, honestly, it's actually was pretty impressive for the 90s.
CG for the 90s. Yeah, CGI back then. I was like, oh, impressive. Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I'll give it that.
It kind of look like, you know, you kind of see it. It's
like you see like the muscle
more.
Well,
yeah.
It's, you gotta give it what it is for what it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't. 90s, yeah, I mean, CGI was still figuring itself out. It's not like it is today, but it was still really good. But like for this particular scene, I was just like, I remember watching this as a kid and actually being afraid, and it still like kind of jolts you a little bit. But it was just like, I just love how she's like saying all this shit, and then she just passes out on top of him, and he's like, "Get me the fuck out of here!" And he goes back outside. He's like, "Let's go." It's like, what happened? We gotta go. We need to get as far away from here as humanly possible. So
what got me shaken up a little bit was the you know, the heads in the tree.
Oh, that part of it for me is disgusting.
A little bit. Yeah, it was like, ugh.
It's disgusting.
Why put them in the tree?
Well, did you not know? Did you not understand why it's in the tree?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it's because it's his gateway.
I know this. Yeah,
it's the gateway for him. Yeah, so that's why it's stuck in the tree. But it was. Oh my god! When he's, we're getting to it. We're getting to it right now. So he does eventually find the tree, and with Katrina coming upon them and freaking them out. But they do get to the tree, and like this is like the tree of death. I think that's what they call it, the tree of death. And the tree really does look like it's like it's contorted in such a way where you wouldn't necessarily see a tree contorted, which I think is again very symbolic too. If you see someone who has been murdered or killed or whatever,
Right.
they sometimes their bodies can look in such a way where it's inhuman, like you wouldn't see a body this way. So I think it's very symbolic of that. And they get
Mhm.
to the tree, and I don't know what possessed him to axe the tree. Oh, I think it's because he touched the tree and there was blood on the tree. But still, I'm like, how could you
Mm.
go from that to axing up the tree? I'm just trying to understand. Because I wouldn't go from that to the next. If I'm touching a tree and there's blood coming off of it, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna leave you be. I'm a dip,
Mm.
but I'm black. So
Right.
black people handle things very differently. Come at me, I don't care. Tell me I'm lying. Anyways, we handle things very differently. So I'm like, oh, but he goes, starts axing up this tree, and this is the part that Mikel's talking about. He's axing up the tree, and there's like blood spewing up at him. It's actually really
Right.
gross, which again, I think like that is exactly what would happen if you were to be axing somebody. uh, Sorry for the
Mhm.
visual, but if you were to be doing that, that is exactly what
Mhm.
happened. You're getting that splatter. So that's what he's doing,
Mhm.
and it's splattering back at
Mhm.
him. He's covered in blood. It's disgusting, actually. He's covered in blood. And then all of a sudden, he must have hit something perfectly, and all of these heads just come rolling out of the tree. All of the heads
Yeah.
of the victims that he's killed just rolling on out of the tree.
Hmm.
And they must have stayed there for some time. Getting dark. Again, no thank you. It's getting dark. And then they see this tree is starting to kind of rumble. There's some rumblings in the tree.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly who it was, if it was Katrina or Mesvith or whatever the hell his name is. But he's like, someone's like, Ichabod, the tree's moving. And all of a sudden he just comes rolling on out of this tree, the Headless Horseman, just rolling on out of the tree, completely ignoring that there's three human beings in front of him. And did you understand
Mhm.
why he did that? Do you get why he's doing that? Like, did you catch on to that?
Three. No, I didn't catch on.
Okay, so like when he does kill that guy and cuts him in half,
Mhm.
he kept saying to him, "Stop it! He's not here for you. He's not here for you." Because he's being summoned, and when he's being summoned to kill particular
Mm.
people, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
that
being
part. Yeah.
summoned to
Yeah.
kill particular people. He goes
Mm.
and he kills those people or whoever it is or
Yeah.
person, and then his job is done. He goes back to the tree of death,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah. Well, he did
So
end up stabbing Johnny Depp's character as well.
he
So,
did because
he
they were
stabbed.
getting in the way.
Yeah.
They were getting in the way
Yeah.
of what he's supposed to be doing. So because they're getting in the way, he
Mhm.
literally, that was so cool. Before we get to it, we're not getting there yet. So yeah, he runs past them. He's not here for them. And
Mhm.
Crane goes after him, right? But not fast enough, unfortunately. So we're gonna go through this as quickly as possible because I absolutely hate this scene. And every time that I see this scene, I wanted to scream, "Leave the kid, leave the kid." But I know how this goes, and
Mhm.
he doesn't leave the kid. But we see his family, and we've seen them before. We saw like the husband when he was helping him get a horse. We've seen
Mhm.
the wife, we've seen the son, we've seen them before, and they're in their home, just being a family.
Mhm.
And something must have kind of gone in the air. I don't know. But she's going to take the kid to bed. And then, as she's in the room with the kid, he comes through the door. Just, he sees fighting the dad, but just one whack of the axe and he's dead. He goes into the room. The kid's hiding. She hit him in the floorboards. And she doesn't even fight it, which again, I get it. I think if you're a mother and you're trying to protect your son, I'm just going to take this axe and I'm good. Unless that means protecting him.
I agree. I agree.
And if he does it, she's dead. It's easy peasy.
Mhm.
And he collects the heads and he's about to go. And then he's like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to be killing 3 people because he's been summoned to kill 3 people. And he's axing at the floorboard and he gets the kid, but we don't see that. We just see him leaving and drawing up the bag. That's all we see. But Prince Charming goes and he's trying to attack him with the gun, as Mikel mentioned earlier, which I forgot about, but he's shooting at him, but like again, it's not doing anything. And this is where, Crane's showed up and he's like, he's not here for you. Like, he's done what he has to do. Like, he's not here for you. But he's not listening because he has to be Prince Charming and save the day. So they're fighting. So Crane's like, well, okay, then I guess I have to fight too. So he's fighting. And this was cool for me. Like, I can't speak to anyone else, but this was cool for me when he just slices him in half. But before he slices him in half, this is the part you're talking about. He takes his sword, stabs Crane, and just flings him. He just goes flying and he's like, get out of my way. And then he just cuts this guy in half and he's on his way to go back home? Question mark? So yeah, he kind of does that. But hold on, I gotta get back to my other notes here. But yeah, he's just
take your time.
He's now claimed 3 additional people, and it's not over yet. So he's been stabbed, but he's still the next day. He's like, I gotta get this shit done. I gotta find out who this guy is. I gotta get it over with. So we heads on over to Ollivander. Now, again, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you know exactly who I'm talking about. This time, though, he's not gonna give us a wand. He's gonna give us a hard time. So he goes to Ollivander, and he's like, listen, I know you're involved here. I know there's something going on. You need to help me. And this is in terms of a will. There has to be a will. And it's the Von Garretts, which I don't know who the Von Garretts are. I think it's Katrina's family. I think they're the Von Garretts. We've established we don't remember people's names in this movie. And there's this connection between the will and all this other stuff. Like, there's something having to do with this and the Von Garretts and the Von Tassels and all of this nonsense. There's a connection here. We can't remember what the connection is, but there is a connection. So he goes back to his room, sees Katrina in the room, because he's starting to kind of be like, someone is summoning him. And the person who's summoning him has to be the Dumbledore. He's thinking it's Dumbledore. It's Albus Dumbledore who's summoning him. After all, guys, he is one of the strongest witches of the wizarding world. So it has to be him, right? But Katrina's like, it's not my father. Like, you think it's my father? Because he wrote this thing down, wrote down suspects, and just left it there for people to see. And she's like, it's not him. Like, you might as well just go back to New York if you think it's him. Like, just leave. But he's not gonna leave yet. He sees I am Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp is me, because he sees a spider and he freaks out and says, kill it. That would be me. I don't care how big or small the spider is, kill it.
Yeah.
So anyways, he says, kill it. But the spider's going under the bed. So Masbeth pushes the bed around over and sees what looks like a spell drawn on the floor underneath his bed. And he thinks it's some sort of hex or a curse or something, which again just shows sign of the times. That is what anyone would have thought would have been a hex. I mean, I guess I would have, but he doesn't know who put the hex or the curse on him. So later on, we see a woman going into the woods, and she's moving very quickly. Like, it's a little bit inhuman. No one moves that fast. She's moving very quickly into the woods. He's following her because it's just the lady of the house, lady, whatever the fuck her name is. It's just the lady of the house having sex, like, as people do.
That was Yeah, that was the weird part, and I didn't understand too much. So
I
I don't know if
feel
that
like
was that had to be related to like the couple and like earlier in the movie, like they were making out.
that
I don't know
wasn't
if that
them.
was
That wasn't them.
that wasn't them.
No,
Okay. Well,
that was I don't remember his name, but I'm going to reference he was the dude that's in What a Girl Wants, who was the bad guy. He was
mm,
him.
mhm.
He was making out with one of the servant girls.
Right.
So that wasn't
Okay.
them.
I see.
This was something completely different. But she's having sex with Ferris Bueller's principal. So she's having sex with him and she like cuts
Mm,
her hand, which is like,
yeah.
I mean, I get she's spoiler alert guy, she's the bad guy here. But I just don't understand why she did that. To this day, I still don't. But
Mm,
anyway, maybe it's a red herring. I don't know. But she is doing this while having sex with him, which, by the way, guys, again, another PSA, don't do that. Yeah, you're just gonna. If, no, what's gross? Anyways, like, I love my boyfriend very much, but I'm not gonna be like swapping blood with him or something. Ew. Anyways, it's gross. But he goes back to his room because he doesn't want to see this and discovers that all of his evidence, it's gone. Everything that he was working on, it's gone. Because Katrina took it and she burned it in the fire. She's really mad. They get in a fight and now all this, and now she won't talk to him. So, but the next day, he sees the wife, the lady of the
mm,
house, and she's like, I know you saw me. I know you saw me. Well, you you didn't really
mhm,
hide yourself, ma'am. Like going
mm,
out there having sex in the woods and stuff. But anyway, she's like, don't tell my husband, who Dumbledore is her husband. And he walks in, actually, Dumbledore walks in and says, Ollivander hung himself. Oh no, we really can't get a wand now. The wand can't choose us, guys. He's now killed himself. And, you know, he's like, you might want to now dip now, Johnny.
yeah.
You might want to leave because Ollivander's dead. And he's like, why? Why would I leave now that Ollivander's dead? But anyways,
Mhm, mhm.
Dumbledore tells his wife, we gotta go. But then as they're outside, we have to go, we have this meeting or something, whatever the hell. And she's just there gardening? Question mark. And here comes the
Right.
headless horseman, I guess, gonna kill her. But before he finds out
Mm,
whether or not he's killing her, he
right.
does what every husband does and runs away. Anyways, he runs
Mm,
away, goes to this church, and he's like, the headless horseman killed your mother. The headless horseman killed your mother. So it's like Katrina.
mm,
And he's like, and now he's after me. Well, he really is after him. And the
yeah.
thing is, though, when he gets to the church, he can't get past the gates because he's an evil person. Evil people are not allowed in church. So he can't
Mm,
he can't get in there. So he's like trying to find his way in. He's throwing the axe, but then the axe like dissipates. Like he can't get in there. And everyone's like, it's you he wants. Like we should just give him to you. Like what give you
yeah.
to him and call it a day so he can leave the rest of us alone, you know what I mean? But it doesn't quite happen that way. And then we see Katrina doing something on the floor, which is similar to the thing, which we'll see that's under Johnny's. I'm gonna call him Johnny from now on. Johnny's bed.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
the same thing. But she's like, it's a protection spell, everybody. I want to put this out here. It's a protection spell, not a hex. But anyways, he doesn't know this yet. So while they're trying to like figure out a way to deal with this, and they're like trying to kill the horseman, even though he's already dead, he
Mhm.
does this really. I mean, for a dead guy, he's really smart using that brain of his that he doesn't even have. He hooks up this fence post to rope, and I guess he throws the fence post into the church, which just nails
Yeah.
Dumbledore right in the chest.
Yeah.
And then he pulls him out of the church this was really cool. I don't care what anybody says. This scene is wicked cool. He is dragging him, poor Dumbledore, which again, he is also dead in real life. May he rest in peace. But he's about to die in this movie too. And he's dragging him, but he gets stuck. And he's like,
between the fences.
Yeah, he's like trying to pull him, and he's like, man, this thing won't move. And then he goes back and is like, well, I only need your head anyways. So then he chops his head off, and that's that. So now we're thinking he's killed Dumbledore, he's killed Lady, whatever her name is, and that's it, right? It's over. He's killed all these people. Well, no, it's not quite over yet. But before it's not over yet, Johnny's like, well, that's it then. Katrina's been the one who's been summoning. She wanted her father killed, and there we go. And he, the next day, is deciding to leave, and because his job is done, right? Well, he's now gone or leaving. Katrina's there alone in the house. And who walks in but stepmommy Dearest, who was supposed to be dead, but apparently is not. And she's like, it's like you've seen a ghost. And she passes out. She passes out a lot. She might want to get that checked. But anyway, she's passing out a lot. And she's like, okay, well, I don't want to go back and forth too much, but Johnny does kind of realize, wait, something's up here. So he goes back to, I guess, the corner, looks at the body of the lady, whatever her name is, and realizes it's not her. Because the knife wound, if you remember, she had cut her hand, and he saw that she had cut her hand when she had this freaky sex thing. The hand, the scar, was done post-mortem, which is impossible. It would have been done before she was killed. So post-mortem being after death. It's impossible. That's not possible. So he's like, that doesn't make any sense because that happened before she died. So clearly she's taken a corpse and duplicated the scar on her hand. So we go back to Katrina and Lady, whatever her name is, and she's like, how did you do this? And this is where we find out she was one of the little girls who saw the death of the Headless Horseman. It was her sister who was the one that snapped the branch. Her sister was Crazy Witch Lady that had the eyeball situation, who she ended up killing after. And she's like, I always vowed that the Headless Horseman was going to do my bidding because her family was chipped or whatever the hell. She's one of the Von Tassels or the Von Garretts, one of those two. And she's like, I said that he was going to do my bidding, and now he's doing my bidding. So she summoned him to do all of the kills. She stole his head, did all of it, and did the bidding and had him killing all these people, all connected. Don't remember why they were connected, but they were connected. And she's like, now the only thing left is you. You gotta die now, Katrina. So she takes a clip of her hair and she's summoning him to kill Katrina. But this is where Johnny gets in there, and he's like, we're gonna save your life. And they do this little windmill thing, and the Headless Horseman's there trying to get them, but he gets out and the windmill blows up, and someone's like, is he dead? Yeah, but the problem with that is he was already dead. So no, he's not dead. So they run back into the woods where Lady, whatever the fuck her face is there waiting. And she's like, oh, you're still alive. Well, not for much longer. And they somehow, okay, let's see if I can remember this off the top of my head. They were able to get the head, because she has the head. They were able to get the head from her. Because that's what he wants. As long as he can get his own head, he's not going to kill anybody. So he was able to get his head just in the nick of time before killing Katrina. And he's so happy. He gets his head back. And this is the part where we see all of the muscle and the skin and everything. And then we see Christopher Walken come to life and with really bad teeth. And yeah. and he sees his horse and he's really happy. And then I guess he figures, I mean, I don't know how he figured this, or again, he's just really smart for that guy. He realizes that lady, whatever the hell her name is the one who gave him his head. And he's ever so grateful that he's going to take her as his bride. And he gives her this really great kiss that was really disturbing. But gives her this great kiss. He's going to take her home with him, and she's dead. When you get rammed into a tree, like, she's dead with him now. She was everything she ever wanted. Mm-hmm. And then basically the movie ends with Katrina and Nesbeth, whatever the hell's his name is, going back to New York with Johnny, and they're gonna live happily ever after. But yeah, like, I enjoy, personally, like I said, like, I enjoy this movie. It is what it is. I enjoy it. I know Mikel thinks differently, but what I do want to do with this as well is, we did kind of talk about, like, the story of the Headless Horseman in our last Halloween episode, which was last year. So I'm going to kind of do a clip of that at the end here, so you can kind of have that connection with the movie if you watch the movie, and with that as well. So we'll kind of just add that at the end. Right. But before we end off, I just have a quick little thing here. Do you know the story of the jack-o'-lantern? Because the jack-o'-lantern, even though it's something that you don't see a lot in this movie, the whole thing with the Headless Horseman was that he would carry around a jack-o'-lantern. Do you know?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that earlier in the movie.
The prank was a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah. Prank, yeah.
Yeah, but they don't really focus very heavily on the jack-o'-lantern, but I don't remember. You might remember more because you've actually watched it more recently than I have. But in the series, have you even seen the Headless Horseman yet in the series, or did you finish watching even the first season? Like, the first season's the best season. The others are okay, because it's not just about the Headless Horseman. They talk about Revolutionary War and everything like that too. Is all connected.
You mean the Sleepy
series?
Sleepy Hollow series.
The series, yeah. Did you see
I don't think I've seen it in the third episode.
I can't remember when he comes in with the Headless Horseman.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good series. Like, I did enjoy it. You might enjoy the series more than you would of the movie.
Possibly.
The series is really good. Like, it's a little darker. There's other things that kind of come into the mix as well. It's not just the Headless Horseman. I think, like, there was, like, I can't remember because it's been so long. There was, like, the horsemen. Like, it's like they kind of grouped these figures together. It wasn't just the Headless Horseman. It was like a bunch of different figures that they kind of linked together. But it was I enjoyed the series. I watched it till the end. So yeah, I enjoyed it. So I would recommend watching it. But I do recall that you would see a jack-o'-lantern sometimes, but it wasn't often either. But the jack-o'-lantern is connected with it, just because he would use that as his head. And that's kind of where the story is you would see the jack-o'-lantern with him, right? So I just kind of want to talk about the background on the jack-o'-lantern a little bit, because it's a little fun. Not too much. It's probably going to be about 5 minutes or so. But so basically, we did talk about this in our last episode as well. The practice of carving the jack-o'-lantern, the faces and stuff, used to be done on vegetables, which were kind of like, they would use turnips or something. And this was rooted back in Ireland. And then that kind of came back when they would, go to the States. That's kind of where it would be done on, like, pumpkins. So the jack-o'-lantern, though, comes from an Irish folktale about a man named Stingy Jack. Irish immigrants brought the tradition to America, which is home of the pumpkin, which I didn't know was home of the pumpkin. And it became an integral part of Halloween festivities. So people have been making jack-o'-lanterns at Halloween for centuries. My family would do that sometimes. One version of the practice may have originated from an Irish legend, which first appeared in print in the 19th century about a man nicknamed Stingy Jack. According to the story, Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him. True to his name, Stingy Jack didn't want to pay, or Stingy, I should say, sorry, not Stingy, Stingy Jack didn't want to pay for his drink, so he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin that Jack could use to buy their drinks. But once the devil did that, Jack decided to keep the money and put it into his pocket next to a silver cross, which prevented the devil from changing back into his original form. Jack eventually freed the devil under the condition that he would not be bothered. He would not bother Jack for 1 year, and that should Jack die, he would not claim his soul. So the next year, Jack again tricked the devil into climbing into a tree to pick a piece of fruit. While he was up in the tree, Jack carved a sign of the cross into the tree's bark so the devil could not come down until the devil promised Jack not to bother him for 10 more years. Soon after, Jack died. As the legend goes, God would not allow such an unsavory figure into heaven. The devil, upset by the trick Jack had played on him and keeping his word not to claim his soul, would not allow Jack into hell. He sent Jack off into the dark night with only a burning coal to light his way. Jack put the coal into a carved-out turnip and has been roaming the earth with it ever since. The Irish began to refer to this ghostly figure as the Jack-o'-the-lantern, and then simply Jack-o'-lantern. So that story likely drew on a parallel of the term Jack-o'-the-lantern as akin to the will-o'-the-wisp, a mysterious light seen in wooded or swampy areas at night, sometimes with natural causes, other times as a result of mischievous children lighting lanterns. So Jack-o'-lantern's origin, so again, in Ireland and Scotland, people began to make their own versions of Jack's lanterns by carving scary faces into turnips and placing them into windows or near doors to frighten away Stingy Jack and other wandering evil spirits. In England, large beets are used. Immigrants from these countries brought their vegetable carving traditions with them when they came to the United States, helping change American pumpkin carving from a general autumn pastime to one uniquely associated with Halloween. So that's kind of the background on the jack-o'-lantern, which I thought was always kind of cool to me. Again, if you are a Harry Potter fan, it's a little bit of parallel to the Sleepy Hollows. Not Sleepy Hollows, sorry, it's not Sleepy Hollow, the Sleepy Hollows, it's the Deathly Hollows. It's very similar in that sense. So I thought it was really cool to kind of just talk about the jack-o'-lantern, but I will, like I said, play the piece about the background on Sleepy Hollow and Ichabod Crane, and then that's it for the episode. Fun story, and that is the legend of Sleepy Hollow, which is something that comes back every year around this time. So the legend of Sleepy Hollow was written by Washington Irving, and it was written in 1820, which is the tale of a headless horseman who terrorizes the real-life village of Sleepy Hollow.
1820?
1820. It's an old story. And it's considered one of America's first ghost stories and one of its scariest. So, they do mention, though, that Irving really didn't invent the idea of a headless rider. Tales of headless horsemen can be traced to the Middle Ages, including stories from the Brothers Grimm and the Dutch and Irish legend of Dullahan, I think is how you say it, or Gan San, which is a grim reaper-like rider who carries his head. There is an historian, her name is Elizabeth Bradley, who thinks that the source of Irving's horsemen can be found in Sir Walter Scott's 1796 titled The Chase, which is a translation of the German poem The Wild Horseman by Gottfried Berger. So that's kind of where it kind of seems to come from. But it's also said that Irving had just met and become friends with Scott in 1817. So it's very likely he was influenced by his new mentor's work. And the poem is about a wicked hunter who's doomed to be hunted forever by the devil. So remember, we talked about the guy before who was hunted by the devil.
Yeah.
And the dogs of hell as punishment for his crimes. Yeah. So, according to the New York Historical Society, others believe Irving was inspired by an actual soldier who was decapitated by a cannonball. Yikes! During the Battle of White Plains around Halloween 1776.
Wow.
I know. So as we all kind of know, Irving's story takes place in the New York village of Sleepy Hollow. I Want to Go, which is in Westchester County. And in it, we find our schoolmaster, Ichabod Crane. Now, the Tim Burton story is a little different of how Ichabod Crane, what his job is, but he courts Katrina Van Tassel, who we already know from the movie. She's a young heiress who's also being pursued by the Dutchman, which, again, is the case in the movie as well. And then after being rebuffed by Katrina at a party at the Van Tassel farm where ghost stories are shared, Ichabod is then chased by Headless Horseman, who may or may not be his rival, and then hurls a pumpkin at him, which again does happen in the movie in Sleepy Hollow. Irving may have drawn inspiration for his story while a teenager in the Tarrytown region. Right. Apparently, this person moved to the area in 1798 to flee yellow fever outbreak that was in New York City. And there's also that because in the movie, he does come from New York City and goes to Sleepy Hollow because they've asked for him, I guess. I don't know. So there's kind of that element that I'm realizing as well. But why is the Headless Horseman headless? And why is he doing what he's doing? Well, if you've watched the movie, you already know. But for those who haven't, the Headless Horseman supposedly seeks revenge and a head which he thinks was unfairly taken from him. This injustice demands that he continually search for a substitute. The horseman, like the past, still seeks answers, still seeks retribution, and can't rest. We are haunted by the past, which stalks us to that. We never forget it. So,
apologize, everybody. That's my dog.
It's okay. Milo just wants to be a part of it.
You might be the. You might be
the Headless Horseman. Who knows?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
So as for folklore mixing with history when it comes to the character of Ichabod Crane, he actually is a real person. He's colonel, whatever. Ichabod B. Crane was a contemporary of Irving who enlisted in the Marines in 1809 and serving 45 years. But there's no evidence that the two ever met, according to this. So we don't know if they've met and if that's what inspired the character. But that's kind of the history behind Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman. If you want to dig into that movie, if you've never seen it, Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp and Christina Ricci is perfect.
Interesting.
And Christopher Walken is the Headless Horseman. Anyway.
Has there been like a cartoon version?
There has been a cartoon version of it, yeah. Which is more closely from the book, from the story of, yeah.
Okay, that's why. Yeah, I've seen the cartoon version.
So this ends episode 53 of the Next Tape Podcast. The Next Tape Podcast is available now on all podcast platforms. We also have a website called solo.to/nexttapepodcast. Tanyka, where else are we at?
We are on Facebook and Instagram at Next Tape Podcast and Twitter and TikTok at Next Tape Pod.
Also, you can contact us and email us at mikeltanyka@gmail.com. That is mikeltanyka@gmail.com. So we talked about this movie, Halloween movie.
Sleepy Hollow, yeah.
Sleepy Hollow. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an all right movie in my opinion. For
Mm.
Tanika, it's a different story. It's been
It's my
her
childhood.
childhood movie,
Yeah.
and still is a great movie to her. So yeah, that's basically it that I have to say about the
Yeah.
movie. I wouldn't like if I was a kid, I probably think this movie was cool. But you know, as a first time seen as an adult, you know, it's it's all right because I've seen better horror slash thriller slash dark, extremely dark movies than this. Even there's some video games that you know that have that elements too that are a little bit better than this. But you know, it's all right. I'm not saying it's trash, not saying it's bad, but it's
It
all
was
right.
the 90s.
So yeah, I know it's the '90s. And yeah, the
Yeah.
'90s.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So again, if you guys want to follow along, watch the movies before listening to our coverage of the
Mhm.
movie, next week we are going to be doing the Fear Street trilogy. So that's on Netflix if you want to watch it. That's 1994 is the first one, 1978 is the second one, and 1666 is the third one. So you can definitely go watch those. I, again,
Mhm.
highly recommend. And of course, as I always say, Mikel, you have to watch all three. That is the only series I'm saying you have to watch all three. It won't make sense otherwise.
Mhm. Okay.
But
All
yeah,
right.
that's it.
We'll try to finish it. All right. So I'm Mikel, and
And I'm Tanyka.
we are out until next week. See you later, guys. Peace.
Bye.